good evening. This is the 28th of November, 2023. Welcome to the David and Chuck Show. Hey, Chuck, how you doing in Winston-Salem?
I'm doing well. I want to know what is that right there?
We have a special guest or two live from Disneyland in Orlando,
Disney
Florida.
World.
Disney World. Everybody that knows me and Janet and Uncle John, they know, everybody knows Brooke. Brooke's my daughter. She's the assistant director at the mountain projects here in Haywood County and Jackson County. And everybody knows Avery. Then she's going to give us an update on Disney World and what's
Yes.
happening down there. Kind of feel us on what you've been doing this week since you got done at Thanksgiving and where you headed tonight.
Well, we're about to go to Fantasmic, which is a show. And right here, as you can see, we're at the icon of the park, which is the Hollywood Tower Terror Hotel.
The icon of the park.
Yes.
We have ridden how many times?
Two.
Two times today.
What time did you start this morning?
Like
We left our hotel room before
8.
7 a.m.
Yeah. We started at like 8 probably. We
Tell
got to
Chuck.
the park at like 8.
Avery, tell Chuck what happened this morning when you FaceTimed Gigi and myself, and you were not very happy.
Oh, so we like rope dropped, and if you don't know what rope drop is when you get into the park early, and it's called rope drop because you have to wait, and then the rope drops.
Till the cast members drop the rope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that happens. And so then we went to Rise of the Resistance. It's a Star Wars ride, and then we went to ride Slinky Dog. That's a Toy Story ride. And then Mom checked the wait time, and it was that was our first time doing Tower of Terror. That's what I call it, Tower of Terror. And I was hungry because I thought we were gonna go eat, but we didn't go eat. So I was like hangry, kind of.
Not kind of. Full blown.
I was full blown
pretty
hangry. I get it from my uncle, and
You get it from Uncle John?
yes. And then we ate after that, and I felt better.
So, tell Chuck what you got going on tonight, and what you got going on tomorrow, and kind of fill him in. He's got a question or two for you.
So right now we're going to Fantasmic, and that's like a show where like it's
It's the nighttime show here in Hollywood
Yeah.
Studios with
And-
fireworks and all the characters.
yeah, and the characters float on top of the water, and then after that we're walking across to like the other half of the park, and we're going to sci-fi dinner. It's kind of like a 50s theme, like 50s, 60s theme, which is
Francis,
like,
they
really
play the
cool.
blob on the TV screen.
And I love it. And yeah.
Hold on, I couldn't hear Chuck.
Say that again.
What is
What's her favorite what? Disney what?
character?
Who's your favorite Disney character? This is hard.
At this park,
Yeah.
No, your favorite Disney character.
at this park, probably at this park, I gotta go Sully.
Sully at
Who?
this park.
What
Sully,
about-
Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc.
Got it.
Monsters Inc.
What's been the
My favorite ride is Expedition Everest. It's at Animal Kingdom, which Animal Kingdom is my favorite park.
Let me ask you this, and then I know you guys got a lot going on, and Chuck and I are going to talk about Arkansas football. I'm sure that's going to thrill people until they find out why we're going to talk about Arkansas football. But fill us in on your daddy and
So we
his
bought him-
ability to sleep at any
Anywhere.
location, any table.
He may be asleep now, standing
No,
up.
got him right
Oh,
here.
nope, he's awake.
Woo! So we bought him a stool, and he like when we're in lines and stuff, he can whip it out and go sleep on it. And he also last year there's like a bench in Magic Kingdom, which is like everybody's favorite park, but my least favorite. And he slept on it.
Because I
He
saw
like
two.
it was like his bed, and he went to sleep on it.
And what shirts are you wearing today?
So today's I've got 2 layers on because it's real cold. We have just like a plain one. It's gray and it says Hollywood Studios, and it has like all the things in Hollywood Studios.
And who makes those?
My mom.
Okay. So thank you guys for checking in from Disney. We
Anytime.
appreciate it. You guys be safe flying home. We love you. We'll see you when you get
Love
home.
you.
Yes.
You guys have a safe trip.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you too. Chuck, they work. I promise you. Brooke works her butt off for the community here.
Mhm.
And what they do at Mountain Projects is special. From assistance to the homes, for payments for Section 8 homes, for clothing, for blankets, for home. I mean, what that's such a multitude of things that they do, and I'm tickled. But she works all year long for them to leave on Thanksgiving Day, and they stay gone for like 8 days. And her and Avery literally go from 6:30 and 7 in the morning until they close the park every day. I don't get it. But I mean, it is their heaven on earth, and that is what they live to do once a year. So good for them. All right. We talk college football. I got to spend a few minutes today with our athletic director here at Tuscola. He came down to the shop to get a inspection, and I had to get on his butt because let me tell you what he and Jonathan have done. Okay, in my closet, I went to Irwin. I coached at Irwin. I got some red stuff, not a ton, but I got some red stuff, and I've got an old T-shirt that's probably 10 to 14 years old, somewhere in there, that the words are faded out on it, and it was like. Remember when the ESPN thing and it said, "Come on, man"?
Mm-hmm.
So it just said, "Come on, man," but it's so faded you can't see it. But I love that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even wear red, Chuck. I can't even wear red in my own home. Janet's got a winter coat that she spent bukus of money on that she can't even wear now because I mean, so I sent them both the text this morning. I woke them up probably, and called them both multiple names,
Mm-hmm.
multiple names, and they just laughed at me and said, "Tough, tough." So when he showed up today, I said, "Man, I can't even wear my shirt." And
Right.
he said, "That's just the way it goes." I said, "Okay." So, but Janet says she's going to wear a jacket, but that ain't going to happen.
Well, you know what to ask Santa Claus for Christmas then.
Oh my God. Should I tell you what I saw today that he was wearing?
What?
You know the hat that Jonathan designed.
Right.
And well, the baseball coach, which is young Master Shepard,
Mm-hmm.
he designed their baseball hat, and I'm working hard to get you and I each one. It is the T from that, the real T, the big one.
Right.
It's a white hat with the black and the gold outline T, and embroidered deep on the back of it. And it's the same kind of hat too. It's not a cheap hat. It's that nice hat. It just says the heel, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm working hard to get us each one of those. So anyway, man, there's so much happening in college football, but guess what?
What?
You can go home again.
You can?
You can. Where would you go home if you went home?
Well, I can't go back to Flint. I have too many warrants for my arrest back home, so I can't go back there. So I would probably think home is back in Haywood County.
No,
No?
college football.
Oh, could it be Arkansas?
Could it be Fayetteville, Arkansas? What the hell? What Bobby Petrino. Now, look, folks, here's the deal. And Chuck's going to tell you the story of Bobby Petrino.
All right, now you too.
A lack of character from the top of his head to the bottom of his toes. In my personal opinion. Does he know football? Probably. Is he a pretty good football coach? Probably. But ask the people that played for the Atlanta Falcons when he ditched them with a letter in their locker when he was their head coach. So he went back to Arkansas to be the head coach, correct?
Right.
And then what happened when he was the head coach of the Razorbacks?
Well, he got into a motorcycle accident with some female who wasn't his wife. And lo and behold, when they started to investigate, they thought they found out shady dealings out of Bobby Petrino. It exposed a lot. The man's character came under scrutiny, and it wasn't very good.
And they fired him.
Remember that? He had that
The
neck
neck brace.
You know, guys, I can coach, you know.
And so they got rid of him, and he ended up going to a couple of places. He ended up at Missouri State. And then he ended up somewhere else. And for some reason, Jimbo Fisher hired him as the offensive coordinator this year. Well, you know how that ended up.
6 weeks ago, I said on one of these shows, Jimbo's on his way out because the snake is up in the booth.
Yep.
Right, offense. You know that knife is big in the back and everything.
But he's no longer in College Station.
No.
The brand new, just announced offensive coordinator for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Come on, Sam.
Mr. Motorcycle himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Can you believe that Arkansas hired Bobby Petrino to come back as the offensive coordinator?
Well, I know that they're probably changing all the locks on the female dorms and all the sports and everything. Bobby's coming to campus, and Bobby's character is always under question.
And the thing that he did with the Falcons is just that shows a lack of character. But if I'm Sam Pittman, if I'm the head football coach and I'm on thin ice, and he is on thin ice, they went into this season with high expectations, and they ended up 4-7. But at the end of the day, did he hire him, or was he forced to hire him? Because it's almost like you're bringing a guy in here that, even though he has these warts and these bumps and road scars and crashed motorcycles and girlfriends and wives and lack of character, man, that's just like bringing somebody that could be your replacement in. I'm not so sure that he would hire him. I mean, I could be wrong, but man, that doesn't seem like a really smart move on his part.
Well,
or is there enough money from the Waltons and the people up there in Fayetteville that said, hey, bring this dude back? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think Bobby Petrino, I don't know what's behind it. I think Sam Pittman doesn't care. He can call offense. Let's just put it that way. He can call the offense. But I think they need a guy to kind of shut the door on the transfer portal. Everybody, is sort of nervous in Arkansas right now about losing a lot of their players. And a guy, not character, but a high profile, offensive-minded coach coming in to call your offense. Now, look, he can call offense. That's for sure.
Yeah, I never doubt that.
Right. And when he was at Texas A&M, he had quarterback injuries. That happened. So, he walked into Jimbo's kids, and Jimbo's kids were more worried about when they were picking up their next check rather than getting ready for the next opponent. But with that said, it's a good hire from an offensive coordinator spot, but we'll just have to wait and see about all the other stuff that can be distractions. Now, I will tell you this. Max Johnson was at Texas A&M. Brad Johnson's son that started off at LSU is now at Texas A&M, and he is in the transfer portal as a graduate transfer.
So he can play immediately.
Could he come to Arkansas?
I don't think so.
Is he did he get connected with Bobby?
I don't know.
Backing up the Johnson kid, he's not ready.
Because, my thing is this. He wasn't the starter at Texas A&M. The guy got hurt, and he had to play. I like Brad, and I don't know his kid. I know his kid played for Travis in high school, but I think if he wants to be a guy that's going to step in, then he needs to find a place more that suit what I think his talent level is. And I don't think Travis Nolan.
By Travis Nolan.
Coach Nolan, yeah. I don't think he's an SEC guy. I just don't. I just don't. I can see him playing. Yes, Coach Matthews, I totally agree with you, sir. Yes, sir. I can see him playing 1AA and being pretty successful. I could see him, I just don't think he's that kind of guy. But that's just me. But we will see what happens. And we'll talk transfer stuff in a little bit. And I'm disgusted at major college football right now for the way the transfer thing is. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But go ahead.
Add this caveat to this Arkansas situation. Who knows Bobby Petrino's offense? Max.
Yeah, I get that.
Philosophy, way he thinks. Max, 1 year, could add a buffer and a more development for the kid that is waiting in the wings at Arkansas. I could see Max landing at Arkansas. I agree with you. By the way, Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, Florida State 4. That's the way the college football poll came out.
Okay.
Where did they put Ohio State?
Huh?
Where did they put Ohio State?
I'll look in just a second. I've got this. Let me get this one thing here, Chuck. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm just pushing buttons, man. Breaking news. It really doesn't.
I would think that
Question here. Smith is 5.
Ohio State could drop down to 8.
Oregon's at number 5. If the Ducks win, I don't know yet, Chuck. We'll just have to wait a minute or two for that to come out. Let me see here. While we're that's the beauty of what I love this, that we can do this live. Here we go. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Oregon, just what we said. Ohio State, Texas, Alabama. But I think, again, at the end of the day, all that means absolutely nothing, because the winner of Georgia and Alabama is getting in, even though Texas beat them, and I think Texas deserves to go in over Alabama. who's the best 4 teams in the country right now? You got to put Oregon up there. One of the top 4 teams.
I think. Well, I'm not in part. I have a different philosophy, but the college football committee is telling you their desire is undefeated conference champion. You got 4 teams undefeated and playing for the conference championship.
Yeah,
I believe Florida State's got an easy path to the championship at the ACC. I think Michigan has an easy path to the Big Ten.
so that's 2.
I believe that Georgia. I mean, the way Alabama played at Auburn, I'm not so sure Auburn can hang Alabama can hang with Georgia. And so I think Georgia, which I've been saying all year long, the most dominant football team in the country, I think they win. And then that comes down to Washington and Oregon. Whoever wins that game
is in.
is in.
Yep. But let's do this. Let me go back here and let's talk Saturday. Okay. All right. Friday night's matchup is the Pac-12, the last game in the history of the Pac-12, which is kind of sad to me. Is number 5 Oregon in the championship game, number 3 Washington playing in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. Don't give me the point spread. That's a you and Jonathan type of thing. Look, we've been on the Huskies bandwagon with John Taylor since last bowl season. But man, Oregon and Coach Matthews is talking here on our comments. Can you see the comments, Chuck?
No, I can't.
Can up in the top right corner, do you see a thing that says comments?
No.
Okay. But anyway, he's not sold on Oregon. I'm going to tell you that we're not going to jump off the bandwagon because I don't want John Taylor to come down, and fly down here and, pull a Flint on me in the middle of the night. But Oregon is really good, Chuck. Oregon's really good. And Coach Matthews, Oregon's really good. I know that you guys disagree with me vehemently, but I just think they're freaking good.
I will say this. Mike Matthews is a genius.
Oh, my God. The world is ending.
Mike Matthews is right. Oregon had their shot at Washington, and they stubbed their toe. Washington took it to them and beat them. Now they're on the neutral field. I'm all in right now on Washington winning this. Here's the thing I think is going to happen Saturday.
That game. Let's just talk
that
Oregon,
game.
Washington
said 4 best teams in the country, and we're 12-0 for a reason.
Okay.
And they're going to beat Oregon.
My thing with Washington is the Achilles heel that everybody's harped on. You and Jonathan have harped on is defense.
Right.
Offensively, tell me right now who's playing better than Oregon. Offensively, who is playing better than Oregon in the country? There's not much of an answer.
Georgia.
So can Washington play defense and stop the Ducks with their 32-year-old quarterback?
Yes.
Okay.
They've done it before.
Okay.
It's not an unfamiliar opponent. See, Michigan didn't play Iowa. So they're going into playing Iowa for the first time this year, although they know through previous years. But Washington knows a plan that works against Oregon. And
they are familiar.
Oregon State was not impressed. I'm telling you, I backed off and said, I think Washington is better than Oregon. And they've already once this year, and I think Washington will prove it a second time.
I would like to see that happen because I don't want anything to happen. I don't want any self-inflicted wounds or anything with John Taylor because, we do love him. Saturday, 12 noon from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Oklahoma State and Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Texas's last game as a member of the Big 12 before they step up in the Man's Conference and get their ass kicked from now on.
Right.
I got Texas.
Well, I do too, but Texas is going to regret having Oklahoma State instead of Oklahoma for a rematch playing in this game. By way of a double overtime victory at home against BYU, Oklahoma State, and beating Oklahoma earlier, Oklahoma State is playing, and I think they're like rated 18th or something like that. So the bottom line is they don't have a top 10 opponent going into that Big 12. So it's almost like, ho-hum, big deal. Texas.
Who wins a football game?
Texas.
Okay. Michigan, number 3, which is really number 2 to me.
Right.
Michigan and Iowa playing from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I got Michigan. Man, they play defense.
Yeah, we saw that, and they got Harbaugh back. You know, he'll be there, and there'll be juice with him on the sidelines. The kids will be enthusiastic. Harbaugh now can turn his offense over to Sharon Moore, who should be a head coach pretty soon, if not, filling some of these holes. But, by the way, Michigan should win handedly. Iowa cannot score. They have a big league college elite defense, but they have a middle school offense. They can't score. They just can't score.
Well, that's why they fired the coach's son.
Right.
As the offensive coordinator. But the coach didn't fire him. The president of the university fired him. He made the AD fire him. So, yeah, and I got Michigan, which puts them in the playoffs. And then you got at 4 o'clock, the last time that CBS will have an SEC game, and that's kind of sad, even though they take forever to play, from downtown Atlanta, Georgia and Alabama. It's not going to be a blowout, but Georgia's just good. And they are playing really, really well right now.
Up until this weekend, I thought Alabama could do this. I told our friend John Truitt, Bama boy, that, I really do think Alabama's primed and ready to go to pull the upset. If anybody's capable of beating Georgia, it's Alabama.
And they are still, but they're not.
Right. But after that game against Auburn, unranked Auburn, who the week before got beat by 20 points by New Mexico State, and then turn around and lay an egg.
But I will say this. I will say this. That's kind of like the week after Tuscola-Pisgah.
Right.
As far as but they were looking ahead. That's kind of, it's kind of a trap thing. But I just don't see. I just don't see people. The only team that I believe that can play with Georgia is Michigan, and it's because Michigan can just play defense, and they're hard-nosed.
I love Alabama. I love the program and everything. I do.
It sickens me when you say that, though. My soul hurts.
But you'll have to deal with that. But I'm gonna give you.
But angels are losing their wings.
I'm gonna give you a stat. Listen to me. Nick Saban's record in Atlanta.
Oh God, I got it too.
6-0.
Yeah, but who gives a piss? You gotta go win to be 7-0. One of my favorite stories, and you'll love this, and you should.
Who beat Georgia?
Oh, I know. But
a couple years ago.
A few years ago, when Brevard College was in the SAC before they went back to D3, they were 0-8, and they came over to play Mars Hill. And Mars Hill had the number 1 running back in the country. He won the Division II equivalent of the Heisman. And before the game, we're down there, and he's over talking smack to these kids from Brevard. And he's just laying it on and telling them. He said, you're 0-8, baby, 0-8. We're fixing to do this. We're fixing to do that, 0-8. And this big safety from Brevard walked up to him, and he goes, 1-8 today, son. 1-8 today, and then they went out there and beat the piss out of Mars Hill. So, anybody can win on at those levels that they're playing at. But I don't see, the eye test just tells me that Georgia's just really, really good, and common opponents, they've played better against the common opponents than Alabama played. If you go back and you look at the Alabama-Tennessee game or the Georgia-Tennessee game, or you look at the any of their common opponents, Georgia's just played a little bit better against those teams. Now, that doesn't guarantee wins and losses, but they hadn't had any speeding tickets down there in a couple of months, and down in Athens, and they hadn't crashed any cars. So, if they can make it to Saturday at 4:00, and it's going to be a good football game. And for me, I'm really sad that CBS is not going to be a part of the SEC anymore, because I think that program and the way that they did it, even with Gary Danielson there, was so beneficial to the Southeastern Conference. Because, man, all you wanted to do is you wanted to be those guys playing that Saturday game on CBS. And again, one of the highlights, even though we ended up losing at the end on a fumble that was a fumble that the guy from Waynesville said wasn't a fumble and cost us the football game. When Jonathan went in there as a freshman against LSU on that Saturday afternoon, it was, there's nothing, man. That memory of just sitting there as the guy, as a parent, going, dang, man, my kid's at the center of the CBS game. How awesome is this? Coach Matthews been down in the locker room. You were up in the press box, and Jamarcus still fumbled.
Mm-hmm.
He still fumbled, but anyway, I think it's really sad that they're losing the SEC, especially that they're losing it to ESPN.
Let's go back to this Alabama game. Is there a team, athlete to athlete, that can hang with Georgia? That, to me, is Alabama. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think Georgia's too strong. But if there's a team that can upset Georgia, I don't think any number 2 Michigan, I don't think Washington, nor whoever's 4th Florida State can hang with Georgia. But the team that can beat Georgia, it's Alabama.
Of course they can. But I disagree with the other part of your statement. I think Michigan can play with anybody in the country. Now, are they going to outscore everybody as far as getting in a shootout? No. But, man, they play superior defense with an attitude.
Well, after
and you're a Michigan guy.
Well, I am. But here's the thing. It's like after the Michigan Ohio State game, I've been, there's a former Tuscola guy named, we call him Buckeye Bob, Robert Willis. And he's a Buckeye man. And so I've been just dogging him. I dogged him 2 years ago. I dogged him last year. Now I'm going to dog him all year after this one. But they talked about the analyst after the game when I was channel surfing. I didn't watch it live because I was watching Elma College. And they were talking about the key in the last 23 games, the team that rushed the ball for more yards won the game. Harbaugh understands that. He builds that team for that game.
Yeah.
And you ask the question, if you got such great offensive line and running backs, why are you throwing the ball so much if you're Ohio State? You don't understand what can win that game, and that's the problem with Ryan Day. That's why he's gotten in these problems.
And I go back. I totally agree. And for a guy that's got almost a 900 winning percentage, are they going to fire him? Probably not. But Day is on the hot seat in Columbus, Ohio. The backlash from what happened Saturday was unbelievable. Unbelievable. What from the fans to the alum. the former players from Ohio State. It is unreal. I don't think people understand the passion of that game. And I'm glad that you talked a little bit about that, because the only way that people here where we live can understand the passion of the Michigan Ohio State game is Tuscola Pisgah.
Right.
I mean, honest to goodness. I mean, this guy's 11-1, and they're literally calling for his head. He's lost 3 in a row to Ohio to Michigan, and man, they're calling for his dadgum head. And after the game, Chuck, did you watch after the 2 or 3 minutes after the game, and they put the camera and they watched him walking up inside the tunnel towards the locker room? Did you see Day?
I did not.
Man, the only thing I can compare it to is I go back, and somebody today came to the office and showed me another replay of it, and I try not to be hateful, but they showed me the block kick thing again, and they go back and they always show Jonathan's face, when CBS had the camera on him, and I've always thought that that's what death looked like. And watching Coach Day leave the field the other night, was like that. He was just like death. I mean, most of the time they're just ball games. Does that make sense? They're just games, and you want to win, and losing sucks. But if you lose,
not this game.
Yeah, it's the same like here where we live, man. Losing that game, it ain't pretty, and losing that game up there between those two schools. Go back to when we were kids. And and again, one of my favorite things ever is 1968. Well, I think it was 68 when Ohio State scored like 50 points, and near the end of the game they scored a touchdown, and he went for 2, and Woody went for 2. And They said, after the game, they said, "Coach, why are you going for 2?" And he said, "What, Chuck?"
Because they wouldn't let me go for 3.
That's right. They wouldn't let me go for 3. So, it's unreal. The passion, and
when we lived down in Wayne and Haywood County, and we would go back to Michigan, we would stop in Covington, Kentucky, go to the bathroom, gas it all up, and eat something, because we were going from Covington, Kentucky, just over the bridge from Cincinnati, and we were going to go straight north, and we weren't stopping, we weren't getting gas, we weren't going to shop, we weren't going to spend a dime in that state. To Sylvania, Michigan, and then if you had to do something, so you better do it now, because that's the way we traveled that way. Same way was when we came from, if we went up through Chillicothe and then through Columbus.
Yeah.
Is we said, look, when we stopped in Henderson, West Virginia, do what you got to do, gas it all up.
Somebody must be calling him or sending him a text.
But anyhow, but the state, the rivalry goes for a long, long time. That's the way it was. It was the last game of the year. And it goes beyond the time they had it be, before the Iron Bowl started. Because, there was a 40-year, I think it was 40 years difference between no playing between Auburn and Alabama. Then the state legislature made them play the game. So it built up that way. And Alabama has been, pretty much the dominant dog in that rivalry. If I didn't go to either school, there is no rivalry. It is on a higher grand scale. But if you wanted to have a taste of what that rivalry is like, in my opinion, is that you dissect the Tuscola Pisgah rivalry.
Yeah. It's right.
People that think Ryan Day needs to get fired cough up $42.6 million because that's his buyout.
That's it.
He ain't going anywhere.
He ain't going anywhere. Now, 1AA, FCS. I still call it 1AA. But FCS, there's still 3 Southern Conference teams in it. One of them's going to go away Saturday. You got Mercer at South Dakota State, and South Dakota State's favored pretty heavily in that. But, don't overlook Mercer. They played pretty well against Gardner-Webb on Saturday. And then you got Chattanooga at Furman at 1:00.
Right.
So one of those 2 Southern Conference teams is going home. Furman losing to Wofford in a game that they had no business losing dropped them from the number 2 seed in the nation down to number 7. So they're going to have to go on the road because they were basically going to be at home until they got beat. This is potentially their last home game if they win Saturday. So there are consequences for them losing that Wofford game. But Furman's a pretty good football team. You there? You there, Chucky? Chuck's messed around and people are calling him. You there? There you go. I hear you now.
Sound.
There, you're good. I can hear you now. So Furman is a good football team. Chuck, what do you think? Well, we're going to have to get the football guru back. But I see Furman beating Chattanooga in a close game. I see Mercer losing to South Dakota State at South Dakota State on Saturday at 2:00. So let me get Chuck back in here. You there?
Yeah, my had a few peeps that are keeping an eye on the other side of the county, maybe with some information. But
okay, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I see Furman winning a close football game against Chattanooga, and I see South Dakota State beating Mercer, which would leave the SoCon with 1 team moving forward.
Well, I know that University of Tennessee Chattanooga owes them one, so that could be a revenge game and factor into that. But to get this far, and then to look back and think how close Western Carolina got, if they can just build on what they did this year and find a way to close games. But the thing to me with Western, if I may bring in Western here at this point, Western doesn't have the quality depth. They just don't. So from that standpoint, I don't know.
Well, here's the
I'm
thing.
just rooting for the Southern Conference. That's all.
I'll say this. It's not like it used to be. Who knows who's going to have who next year? You can't sit here and say, we got a quarterback back. We got our offensive line back. You can't do that because these kids are, they're apt to just get up and go. So I don't base it off of building anymore, except maybe the initial build, because, you go back and a year ago at this time, it was Dion, and look at all this stuff and look at the kids he's got coming in. Well, he's just lost his top four incoming recruits in the last 48 hours because, so you just don't know. And that, from Western to Mars Hill to Chattanooga you don't know who's going to be on your team. And
right.
So I get what you're saying, but as far as the Southern Conference and the Cats are concerned, you had a chance to get it done this year. And the way that the portal's set up, who knows it's going to be there next year. So, I don't know. I don't know. I know that the guy from Gardner Webb that took his team to the playoffs resigned and is now the head coach at ETSU.
Right.
And
Trey Lamb.
Yep. And you know, that tells you that, at least that tells me, that football wise, that these guys think that this, and I totally agree, that the SoCon is where you want to be instead of the Big South.
Right.
Football wise. The SoCon is the oldest conference in the country. I don't think a lot of people know that. The SoCon is started out with North Carolina, Clemson, Furman, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Florida. That was the Southern Conference. Before there was the SEC and the ACC, the Southern Conference was all of that. So, but anyway, I think that these guys. How long? Let me ask you this, Chuck. Speaking of like with the transfer portal, how long do these guys want to recruit their own kids on top of trying to get kids from high school? You cannot constantly have to be at that level and be long term in these jobs like they used to be.
How long?
How long? I'm talking about coaching wise. Because, I mean, look, let's go in. We're going to make our money, because that leads me back to our text that we had today about Dabo.
Right.
We all agree that his act gets a little old sometimes. This holier than thou bull crap. Okay, I'm saying, and he's a pretty good guy. I knew him. Back when he was a low man on the totem pole at Clemson as the receiver coach and just got hired. He's a really good dude. And he built something really special at Clemson. But I think he's tired of having to recruit his own kids year after year after year, and then go out in the transfer portal and try to recruit kids in, then go to the high schools and try to recruit kids in, and then turn right around and try to keep these kids from leaving. Then you got the NIL money, and he's one of the few at that level that go, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So, are we? I say all that to ask: do you think he's at an inflection point? Is he about ready to say, "I'm going to the TV booth because I'm tired of doing this"?
I think if he would have lost 2 more games, he might have been at that point. But because he had a nice run at the end and finished 8-4, and going to a respectable bowl game and beating his rival, I don't think he's at that point right now. He doesn't like it, but there are other coaches who are at that point where they're exhausted of it. Dino Babers was one at Syracuse, and it cost him his job. Is that you have kids going into the portal. So what the NCAA did in their infinite wisdom was that they said, okay, if you transfer the second time, you got to sit out. Well, if you transfer down a classification, yeah, but the fact is that you're still going to get the transfer anytime you want, and you don't like it there. You get a year or 2 years into it, and they're spending their time and money developing you. And then they bring in a hot shot, and you say, I don't want to compete for it. I'm entitled to that job. That's mainly a lot of this. Some kids are running from trouble, academic problems and behavioral.
Correct.
But the most of them are competitive problems. They don't want to compete. They see this big hot shot coming in. They forget what all the fanfare they had coming in. And they don't like somebody else having that fanfare, and nobody's remembered them in the last 2 years. Will Rogers was a 4-year starter. Okay, he was going to play. This is his 5th year. Okay, and he had or COVID year, whatever it is. The point is that Will Rogers, starting quarterback at Mississippi State, entered the transfer portal. Max Johnson from Texas A&M backup, but yet he was a starter, backup and then got started after an injury. So he's been a starter before. He's in the transfer portal. There's quarterbacks coming out left and right out of the transfer portal. Poor Indiana with Tom Allen fired. They're now after 3 days, they have 8 players that jumped into the transfer portal.
Hold on a second.
Right.
The reason that there hasn't been anybody sign is because it's the signing period hasn't started.
Right.
No,
right.
I'm answering a question for
Oh,
somebody.
somebody asked when the signing period is?
Yeah. You can't sign when you're not allowed to sign.
I'm just saying they're into the transfer portal.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about something, but you're absolutely correct. And if I'm not mistaken, Michigan State lost they're 3 deep at quarterback all today.
Did the Noah Kim, who's from Northern Virginia or
See, I
from
don't know.
Mid Virginia, he transferred. Caitlin Hauser, who won the job or got, took Noah Kim, got benched, and they don't have a quarterback for Jonathan Smith, the new guy coming in. Look, I'm telling you, it's problems. They lost a linebacker. They've lost a lineman, offensive lineman, 6'6", and all these guys have another year, 1 year left, and they haven't transferred, so now they're gone. Okay, so so when you have these kinds of situations, this is what you open the door for the transfer portal, and that was good. Then you realize, no, it's not good. It's bad. You open the door for the Pandora's box for the NIL, and you said, this is good. Then you realize this is bad.
This is real bad. Now,
focused on getting ready for Saturday's game. They're wanting to know where their next $1 million check's coming from.
And there's you were there, so you know the story, and it's a long and I can't wait for Jonathan to write his book, because it's going to be a fascinating book. But the head coach at Wake Forest, the head football coach at Wake Forest, if you would have asked me in 2008, if you would have asked me, what do you think about him? It would not have been, and it wasn't a very pretty answer. It was pretty bad. But as time goes on, as you learn things, and you mellow out a little bit, Dave Clawson is a pretty good football coach and a really good guy. And I think that we can all agree with that.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
He brought a kid in that not many people recruited as his quarterback, had him there for 5 years, put everything in their program on this guy, built their program around this kid. Now he's in his mid 40s now, but they built everything around Hartman. And then Hartman, instead of staying this year for his COVID year or his second COVID year, his third COVID year, I don't know what it is anymore, took off and went to Notre Dame for a boatload of cash. I mean, that's the truth, correct? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
And last week, Wake Forest played Notre Dame at Notre Dame on their senior day.
Right.
And Notre Dame apparently ran a video for this guy that's been there for about 6 months and said how much they loved him and what he means to them and what he is to Notre Dame football. Am I right so far?
Yes.
I'll throw it to you to finish the rest of this story.
He was bought, and Wake Forest says he's our guy. That's
the press conference
there. Set records in the ACC. You just rented out this quarterback for a season. So
at his press conference, Coach Clawson at his press conference this week. Right. Now go ahead.
He lit it up. He just basically says that's our guy. The shady business of coming in and offering big checks, so he'll leave Wake Forest to come to Notre Dame so he can be an NFL quarterback. Well, he didn't prove he was an NFL quarterback in his 1 year at Notre Dame. He spent 1 year at Notre Dame, and they made a big fuss about it, and Clawson called him out on it. That was kind of shady, but that was typical of Notre Dame.
And some of his quotes are, "You say you love him? No, you don't. You don't know him well enough to love him.
Right.
You bought him.
Bought him.
You paid for him.
Paid for him.
You rented him.
Rented him.
But we're the ones who invested 5 years into him, and we're the ones that love him. But he decided he didn't want to be here."
Right.
And then at the end, I think the thing that he said, and we've talked about this since all this started, is he said, "This is the state of college football. We are in trouble. This is not good. This
Right.
is not good." And I venture to say now that bowl season, if I say 20% of the kids won't play, would I be under or over? I'm not talking about the championship games. I'm talking about all the other bowl games. I might be under.
Yeah, under a little bit. Yeah. I mean, you got 85. You have 85 scholarship players, and you're saying 20 is 16 and a half, 17 players. So, or excuse me, 85. Yeah, 16, 17 players. Nah, I think you're way under. You're about 10%, but they're going to be star players that are seniors. So I think it'll be under, but still, it's a matter that they're going to sit out.
Yeah.
What is Hartman going to do? He wants to protect himself instead of playing in some measly old bowl game.
Let me tell you something. He better play, because he's not going to play anymore.
Yep.
And forget the playoffs, okay?
Right.
Forget the teams that are going to play for a national championship. The state of college athletics, the state of college football, it's really bad. Yeah.
This, it is not the state of college football. It is the state of Division I football. Right now, Division I football is a criminal enterprise.
I get that. I'll agree with that.
This stuff doesn't happen. D3 players can get NIL and nobody does. This stuff doesn't take place on the D3 level. D2, even, matter of fact. Division II and Division III have so far escaped it, but if you don't fix this thing, it's a matter of time. D2 there'll be a select few that take part in this on the Division II level, and the other Division II programs will fade away.
Because absolutely, and we've said that for a long time, right. But again, the state of college athletics, to me, a prime example, LSU's women's basketball team is
I'm sorry. I thought you were watching something. No. You're on the phone.
Let's check on that. LSU's women's basketball program. You got to give her credit. She went in there. She took recruits. She got these kids in, and they won a national championship, something they had never done last year. And then these kids come back, and now a couple of them are making more money than she's making.
Right.
And they have issues beyond belief. Go read, guys, if you're listening, just go look and read about LSU's women's basketball team right now. That is the prime example of what is wrong with college athletics. I don't hear anybody talking about going to class. I don't, and I'll say this. I know that there's people who didn't, but I know that at the time that Jonathan was at Tennessee, I can't speak for every one of them, and I know that my daughter probably should have 8 or 9 degrees, but those kids had to go to class. Now, whether you had to do anything or not, I can't speak to that. But their butts had to be in class, and they were monitored every day. When's the last time you heard anybody talk about going to class? You know, when's the last time you heard anybody talk about GPAs?
Right. Hey, John, I tell you what, we've forgotten all of a sudden the academic All-American team. It's just like a non-existent thing.
Yeah.
Remember the days Johnny Smith made sociology major. Remember they always put the major, what they're majoring in?
Yep.
Then general studies. The saddest day in college football was when Sankey, the SEC commissioner running the committee, said that there will be no punishment for North Carolina for violating 571 violations of academic fraud, because the argument was, well, there were also students out of the general population that were taking these fraudulent academic courses. What happened was everybody looked around and went, oh, so all we have to do is to the NCAA is put the hand up and say it's an institutional thing. It's an institutional thing. You can't come in and judge as long as we got regular students taking these fraudulent academic courses. We can put every athlete on it, and they're there just to play sports. Now you're getting them to play sports and paying them millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars for doing what? For doing what? So when if the banks do, we got a crisis coming on our hands, looming over the top with our banks. If the money is a problem, what are they going to do? What's the NCAA going to do? What are these colleges going to do? These athletes are going to expect to give their money. We got a blow up about ready. Could happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but could happen.
Enjoy it while you can, folks, because things are changing. Now, back on another subject.
Okay.
And I can't use certain words, and so any other updates that you have from other locations close to me?
Yeah, a lot of apps. Message board is blowing up. I suspect that soon that will be locked up pretty soon, because people on message boards, one thing I've noticed over my years in that county, nobody can keep their mouth shut. They've got to be the guy to tell everybody the inside scoop, or what they think is the inside scoop. And they don't realize what kind of destruction that they're doing. So now you got a division happening over at the other side of the county. It's over with. They got rid of Chappell. They're looking for a new coach. They've got the parameters they're looking for, and they're interviewing them. I have been told, no number, but I've been told it's a lot of applications. And I would expect that out of Pisgah, given the school it is and the nature of the fan base and the facilities, the weight facilities. I would suspect a lot of coaches would inquire about it. But that's all I know. They're doing a very good job, as they should, on keeping a tight lip over there. To the fan base, please think about what you're putting on in writing and everybody to see, and taking pictures. I've got about 25 posts sent to me. I don't go on message boards and NC Preps. And I've got 25 posts, and I read them. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you seriously doing? So it's going to be a problem. The best thing is the superintendent needs to call NC Preps and say, lock it down. And and it's in the thread where Brooks resigns at Franklin or something like that. And I'm like, how did it get there? And it got hijacked. Somebody started talking about the other side of the school, Pisgah, and then it just got hijacked. So they need to shut that down. So give the new coach a fair opportunity. Look, it's not going to go back.
Now that you're speaking Greek to me, because I don't know any of that stuff. But But the thing, it's, one of the things that when Coach Nolan took the job over here, and as a family, we had some decisions to make, and we talked to Coach Nolan, and he said, it is a blessing and a curse. He said, because, man, there's nothing like this. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, man. And he said, I go to the grocery store. Julie goes to the grocery store. We go get gas or whatever. And that's all. I mean, everywhere we go, that's all they talk about. It is, and he said that is such a blessing, but then you want to time to take a deep breath sometimes. And he said it's kind of a curse too. I see, from just watching, Jonathan's only been there since April. Now, does he know about the thing? Heck yeah, since 2003, but it's a really cool thing, and I understand what you're saying. I don't know the details of any of that stuff with the message boards because, I said what I needed to say earlier in the season, and that's it. What is that movie that Lloyd the with the mustard biscuits? That's all I got to say about that. But there's nothing like it. And with all the good, you got to deal with some of the bad, and it's on both sides of the county. And but man, it'll be fun when they figure it out, and it'll be fun when they figure it out. But you people do tell you that it's hilarious, the information that comes through you on that.
I don't know this person's role in the hiring process, but he had told me that they want a candidate who will be a big splash and one that can compete against Jonathan. And I said, well, you hope your success, your new hire is successful. I don't know what transpired and what all took place, but you fired or he resigned. But you pushed one out that could compete with Jonathan. He could go toe to toe. Jonathan didn't blow him away. It's still the kids that are out there playing.
Yeah, and they respect each other.
Right, they do.
Yep.
But the bottom line is that they've got a lot of applicants and they got a lot of work ahead of them to try because they got to appease the fan base. And right now, the way I see it, Pisgah has got to get super glue and bring them all together and glue them in together that they're all one. Because right now they're splintered.
Yeah, that's
it is.
What do you do?
That's
it. Now, baseball question. My thoughts are the big names are not going to drop in free agents because I think everybody's waiting on Ohtani. That's my thoughts.
Right.
I think he's got to be the big dude to go first, and then things can fall into place, or do you see it differently?
No, I think Ohtani has to settle things because any team that's interested in Ohtani, which is everybody, is that they got to make sure they got the ducks and they can't go out and spend a bunch of money on 3 or 4 players and then all of a sudden Ohtani's interested in them, and where are they getting the cash? So Ohtani's going to demand the money. So you got to go get the most expensive player and try to get him. If you can't get him and he goes someplace else, then you go get your other players because they'll all be there. Nobody else is going anywhere until Ohtani decides what he's going to do.
Dodgers?
No, not me. I know you think that's a landing place, and they can land there. I just think he's going to go back to L.A. Angels.
Can't see it. Can't see it. I know that I read this week that the Cubs are really, really trying to figure out what they can do to get him. And I know that the Mets want him, and that guy doesn't care to spend the money. But don't turn your back on Atlanta.
Well, here's the thing about Ohtani that will probably be used, and that is, and use the Cubs as an example. Artie Moreno, the owner of the Los Angeles Angels, is a very wealthy man. He can look at Ohtani and say, everything's familiar here, but the Cubs have got to try and figure out how to pay for you. I don't have to. I know I got the money here. I've got a historical contract ready for you. I don't have to figure out anything. It's ready to go. All you have to do is say yes. Cubs got to figure out how they can pay for you. That's a dangerous situation walking in there because
I hear you.
Ohtani can't win games by himself.
No, I mean, the two best players in baseball are him and Trout, and they play on the same team, and they suck. Now, before we get off here, I would be remiss to not talk about Saturday more than these other games. Your alma mater came back in a miracle comeback last Saturday against a team that they had no business scheduling these two teams to play this early in the playoffs. Number one, but Alma, it did from the research that I have done since, really the last 3 weeks, but since Saturday, they've got a legitimate chance to play for a national championship up there.
Absolutely. Saturday was the game that propelled us in that, and you have to understand this one thing about Mount Union. It's called the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl. We call it the Stag Bowl. It's a national championship, and for the most part, it's been played up in Salem, Virginia, just west of Roanoke, on Friday, like December 15th this year. ESPN televises it every single year. And Mount Union, since 1993, Mount Union has been to 19 Stag Bowls and have won 12. And they walked into their place down 17-0 at the start of the fourth quarter and hung 24 on Mount Union and threw a Tebow pass, going towards the line, threw a Tebow pass in the end zone with 10 seconds to go up 24-20, won the game. They shocked the world. D3 football website, just type in D3 football, and it uses the term almost shocked the D3 world. And it was an incredible fourth quarter, but they hung with them. They had a couple drives that stalled out and one on downs and a couple punts, but in the first half, so they realized they could play. But Coach Couch said in a text Thursday before Saturday's game, he says this team's prepared to shock the world. Whoa. He said we are prepared to shock the world, and that is that. And they won 24-20 in Alliance, Ohio, and went home. And now they got to get ready to host the third round game against Cortland State. And the teams that are in their bracket, their side of the bracket, none of them have played in the national championship. So somebody's going to play in their first national championship from that side of the bracket. And more than likely, I don't see anybody touching North Central. They're dangerous. But, hey, so was Mount Union. So we'll find out. But they're home for the third round. For the third round, Alma College.
There you go. And just come across the wire for those of you that care or understand. Mark Cuban, everybody knows Mark Cuban, the owner of is selling his majority stake in the Mavericks. That's a big stunner. So there's a lot. That's the beauty and the fun of doing this is we can kind of do what we do there. But anyway, Really good show. Things are going well down in Disney. Is it Disneyland or Disney World? I always call it the wrong one. And Avery and Brooke correct me. So we got an update from down in Florida. We updated everybody from here about what's happening in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I don't get it. I don't think that the head coach is the guy that did all the hiring. Man, oh man. Just a lot going on. Good ball game Saturday. Looking forward.
Okay.
Huh?
One, I just got a text, but first of all, in order to watch Elma, you can go to their website. They have a link to watch the live game at noon, kickoff at noon against Cortland State in Elma, Michigan. Chance to see the campus, a little bit of the campus. Beautiful.
They didn't let me Saturday. They said it was. I went to everywhere I could go, and they tried to charge me all this money.
You got to pay $10. It's not free.
Well, I can do $10.
Right. So you pay the $10, you get to watch it, live stream it. But, folks, listen to all the Haywood County and anybody listening outside Haywood County. If they go into the Natty, the National Division III National Championship, the Stag Bowl, up in Salem, Virginia, just west about 11
We got to get Chuck better internet up there at the drug scene.
Let's
say that again. If they go where?
If they go to the national championship in Salem, Virginia on this Friday, December 15th, we're going. John Truitt, Buckeye Bob, if I let him drive in my car. But we're all going. We're taking recruits up there. We're going to let them see if they play. So you get an opportunity to follow. But if you can't make it, watch it on Friday night on ESPN. 7 o'clock kickoff.
Big games. Championship weekend in Division I. 3 Southern Conference teams playing in the playoffs on Saturday. Alma, is it a noon kickoff, Chuck?
Yes.
A noon kickoff, D3. Just a whole lot of football, and we'll be back here. We'll be back here Thursday, and you'll be back in your. Are you going to be at home on Thursday? Or are you going to be down there?
I'm going to be here at the this business establishment.
The business establishment. But anyway, really good show. Enjoyed it. Coach Matthews, thank you. Mr. Smith, thank you. Wanda McCracken, thank you. Cliff, thank you. Van Smith, thank you for the kind words. And all the people that take the time. Julie, thank you, that take the time.
Please talk about our sponsors.
Yes. Yes, there. Crompton's Auto Mart, CromptonAuto.com. And we've got Orchard Coffee. People coming in from Asheville to get Orchard Coffee now, Chuck. Did you know that?
I did not.
They drive in to get their hand-roasted coffee to take back to Asheville. And then Sutton and Sons Antiques. And as I was driving home tonight, and it's dark, and that place is lit up with people up at Sutton and Sons. So we got a lot happening, and I'm going to try to set up our meeting that we talked about, and set up a call here where you can be live as we talk about getting the rest of that program elite, and you know what we're talking about, and we're going to try to get this thing elite.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you Thursday.
Go ahead. Thursday.
All right. Be safe down there.
I talked to Mrs. Santa Claus.
And
I told her that I want coffee for Christmas. I think I'll get it.
That's right. It is really good. And and you know what? I've never really drank coffee, but I drink the crap out of this because it's that good. It is that good.
Absolutely.
And Cliff, thank you. Good night to you too, my friend. We'll get you everybody Thursday. And I'll try to get us some basketball scores from Tuscola. Make sure because I started to go to the ball game at Cherokee tonight, and so what you eating? You're making me hungry. What you eating, man? Oh, I can't have
Skittles.
those. Golly.
Why can't you have those?
Because I can't. So, but
They got bags. I steal them out of the cupboard. I'm not supposed to have them. But 65. Come on.
can I tell you one
So
thing I did do before we get off here?
What's
I
that?
was on the road the other day. I had to get rid of a couple of vehicles, so I had to go meet with some folks, and I stopped at a convenience store to get gas. And if you walk in now, they got these little things. It's like $9.99, and it's just freeze dried candies that are Skittles. And I know that I really am not supposed to have that. But the more that I stood there to pay for my gas, the more I'm going, well, I need to try one. So I bought a bag. Janet's not in here right now. It's the reason I can say this. So I bought a bag. $9.99 for this bag of freeze-dried Skittles. No, it's a bag. It's a bag.
All right.
And I took that thing out in the car and I opened it up and I said, well, let's just see. I've never done drugs. I used to drink a little bit and then Janet set me straight. Man, oh man. I literally had to stop and I had to make a decision. Do I keep this in my truck and eat this whole bag of candy, which is more than I can have? Or do I stop and find me a garbage can and get rid of this before I kill myself? So after about 10 pieces of that heaven on earth freeze-dried Skittles, I had to throw them in the garbage can. So I wasted about $8. But if you are a person that eats candy and you see those things, yes, they're expensive. Spend you $10. You just trust old Davy boy here. They're that good. They're that good. But anyway, I'll see you Thursday. I know you're working behind the scenes on a lot of other things too, and you'll update us on Thursday.
Yeah, I would. I'd really like to give, if it's a possibility, maybe if I'll get Coach Couch from Elma College on here for about 5 minutes.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. And one of the people that I would love to also have on Thursday, you work on that, is one of my favorite people is Coach Donnie Kiefer. And a lot of people in my world that are coaches, they're, I've always raised my kid, you revere your coaches, and it's coach, coach, coach. But when I say Coach Kiefer, by God, I mean it. I love that guy, and he's the epitome of what a coach should be. I'm hoping that we can have Coach Kiefer on a little bit Thursday to talk some of this NCAA stuff, talk some high school football with him. I really look forward to seeing if we can't put that together.
John Truitt's watching. John Truitt texts David Kiefer's phone number.
Yeah, I lost it. It was been in my phone all these years, and then
John will take care of it.
Okay, yeah. Let's have Coach try to have Coach Kiefer on, and that will be that. And you're gonna work on the Alma coach, correct?
Right. Coach.
All right.
Coach Couch.
You work on that. We'll have another great show. Everybody have a great see you Thursday night. Go Scots, kilts up, baby.
Kilts up.
Wear your underwear.